Hello, and thank you for taking the time to watch this first evidence video in the case involving Collectible Express and Benet's Animals owner and her brother Paris. In this video is an email correspondence between one of the schemers and Russ, one of the executives of Collectible Express. Of course, the full names and email addresses are blocked out in order to keep this video in compliance with YouTube's privacy policy. And as you can see, this video does not mention or show their full names either. But I am sure that one of them will flag it as a privacy violation, like they do all of the other videos that expose their scheme. The importance of this email correspondence is to show and prove that when Benet, Paris' sister, first contacted Russ, that it was not about appraising their family's estate's items, but that it was about auctioning them. Now please note that Benet lives in California, and it is her brother Paris that actually had physical control over all of the family's estate's antiques. Benet had no idea what her brother was up to and could only rely upon what he was telling her. What else is very important about this email correspondence is that you will see that Russ or Collectible Express was supposed to get an itemized list or receipt for everything that he was to take to auction. Of course, this list was never provided by Paris, because if it was, it would have foiled his ability to later blame Russ and Collectible Express for allegedly stealing thousands or a tractor-trailer load of antiques from their family's estate. Let's look at reality here, folks. Why would the sister in California tell Russ that he was going to get an itemized receipt from her brother Paris, and then Paris never give such a receipt? Why would Paris turn over such valuable items without an itemized receipt? There can only be two answers or variations thereof. The first answer would be that Paris, who everyone knows is so meticulous, was impaired due to a head injury of some kind, or perhaps on narcotic drugs at the time of doing business with Russ, and that those drugs, or having bumped his head, made him forget to sign an itemized receipt as Russ carted off valuable items from his family's estate. The second and more likely answer is this: that since Paris had already taken about a year to find someone to auction his family's estate's antiques, because within that year, since his last living parent passed away, Paris had himself sold many thousands of dollars worth of the more valuable items in the estate to private collectors for cash, and kept the money for himself. What would his justification for that be, you might ask? Well, let's look at how someone like Paris probably thinks. Paris is looking at his sister Benet, who married in to a well-to-do family, and who herself built up a very successful business, and just somehow figures that he is entitled to a bigger share. And since he is the one in control of all of the antiques, he just sort of helps himself by selling items off piecemeal, and then takes almost a year to start seriously seeking anyone to sell the rest of the antiques. Then he finds Russ, a small operator, and feels that this guy is just some schmuck who he can blame his own thefts on. Because in Paris's mind, he didn't get an itemized receipt for everything that he gave Russ. He could then easily turn around and blame Russ for missing items that he had already sold for cash to private collectors. This was the perfect scheme, and the fact that this guy Russ had prior lawsuits against him would make it even easier to pull off. But what Paris failed to realize is that somewhere in the melee of all this drama, that he himself would sign a receipt that would destroy his whole scheme. As you can see in Evidence Video 7, there is a receipt that has already been submitted to the courts that shows that Paris received back all of the estate's high-end or valuable items. This receipt signed by Paris, combined with the letter from an insurance company in Evidence Video 8 that proves that Paris lied to the insurance company, are evidence enough to dispute the lies in their lawsuit, wherein they actually have the audacity to itemize over $200,000 worth of high-end items that they claim were never returned by Collectible Express. But the receipt says otherwise. You see, like most criminals, Paris forgot that he had signed that return receipt, and he also failed to realize that whatever lies that you tell to an insurance company will become documented evidence to use against you at a later date. Now, let's move forward to these next evidence videos in the case involving Collectible Express.